post review after watching and making some expectations, looking for Heart of Stone. was there an implication of knowing of a running gag? So we'll just leave it out there. You know, anyone can just interpret anything. I'm just giving you my perspective. Trailer. All right, so let's start. Gal Gadot is so pretty and smart and beautiful, and you know, like, oh, okay. Sorry about that. You know, I'll just finish this later and focus on the aspect of like reviewing. Okay, no, in all seriousness, so this movie, she is normally depicted in those kind of cinematic films where she plays a very cool and calm, collected heroine. Movies obviously I've watched a bit of her in all relevance. Obviously, Wonder Woman is the one that peaked for me. I don't know if she previously did other works before that. All right, since we're gonna go by what everyone thinks it is. All right, I go by the actress first. Okay. She was in Wreck-It Ralph breaks the internet. She still played a very cool character, voicing over that, and also other movies. Obviously, Red, Red, Red Notice, which came into Netflix before, and it was peaking at the popularity of the hit list. Now I can see some subtly the jokes, and I was like, oh yeah, I know. After I realized how much these the chess team gambles, I knew I had to stay clear. I was like, I don't like want to lose. I was like, oh shit, you went that way. But putting aside what I was expecting of the movie, very action packed. I won't lie, there's certain parts I was trying to figure out on the film. There's some depiction of like caricatures of a set structure placed on card systems, which is kind of cool. And one could say certain aspects of the trailer made certain implications. So that's wherever the subtlety where I was projected, it's like not only is it smart, beautiful, that's a deadly poison there. Oh, everyone's gonna get hurt by that one. Oh shoot, get ready. But sorry, I'm obsessed with cards, so I may say things that aren't even there. You know, call it what was it? A certain psychiatry term to depict delusion. I'm sorry, I cannot do it on the spot at this point, but I am doing a review on actively expressing how the film was and how fun it was. What so there are certain aspects that were interesting, but a lot of effort was placed. And if I was going by this by in particular, it was like watch it, see what happens. So like the action scenes were quite cool. Certain things I was not following, but I did lose in terms of context. So like one of the antagonists, which kind of like changed scene to the the uh, the Indian girl. I forgot her name particularly in the status of the movie, but I wasn't expecting her to also be working, considering she was the villain in relation to would be Parker, which I kept in mind at that point. Parker's depiction, I didn't expect backstabbing at the start. Everything seemed kind of like chill, very typical of like nice action packs. It's within her style. I say I haven't seen her go out too much of her niche, but this one really emphasized her being the heroine, with the exception of basically Wonder Woman. The other movie I haven't watched was the kind of a remake twist of like Wonder Woman, and I did not see that all of the DC versions, considering I am still a normal human being. It's not like I spam movies, with the exception of before. But uh, yeah, no. So coming to following up, certain things were kind of cool. I don't know if that's my bias, so I'm sorry about drift. Like the parachute being shiny, I was like, "Ooh, what's that?" And then it, I was picking up, but as well, the plot wasn't. It was decently laid out, but it it was driven more by, I think, a good portion of the where I take a stance is like the action. The action was driven a good portion. So if you had to say in terms of stimulation for the viewer, it was the kicks. The kicks kept going in. Something we saw that was cool. Stunts more than being driven by a kind of like a very complex necessarily intricate plot that he's thinking, right? That wasn't needed to. That's how I felt in terms of projecting this. But there were some things that I was trying to figure out because this whole it's not overly focused, but since it's cards, I'm obviously going to have some interest in thinking about these things as well. Like the system of what the card is. The heart seems to be a heart system where generally Parker, and this is a great interesting. Now I might go into the philosophy of what this villain process because near the end of the line, that really what tickled my fancy and the ending joke. What the where the little exchange on the final fight was the scene and the villain, and Gal Gadot's interpretation and taking her stance because as I understood, she wasn't expecting this backstab, playing a very cool character which she's used to anyways. Um, you know, my stance on this is like, um, my stance on this was uh, her retaliation and observation on the mark of why she wouldn't side was a former teammate who was trying to take control of the circumstances situation. Agents seem to be carrying heart cards, heart identities as well, but nothing projected. And there are certain things that just never elaborated, which is why I told you this movie is more driven on the aspects of like kicks, stimulation on seeing something cool, more in terms of its elaborate storyline and trying to figure things out or making sense or falling in love with the story or the world that it was created and building for you. So it's action packed, but it's still stimulating. But like you don't feel like you need to like I enjoyed it, but like there were parts where I felt like switch off, but I don't feel like I lost too much context, right? And it could be just because I'm tired, that's the other thing. All right, before we arouse like certain things I saw afterwards, just like we'll just stick to the movie. um, yeah, scenes were cool. Fighting stance was wrong. Certain lines were plot development onwards from like because the Indian girl was actually a good major emphasis of the situation, right? With the exception of Parker coming in and out, was his depiction of like how much of a threat he stepped. I felt he was a decent threat throughout the whole movie, taking control of it. I see him as someone that was kind of like it was beautifully laid out in the ending scene near the end. I think Gal Gadot's projection of like his character was like placed correctly, and because she saw too much of animosity in his methods, she just couldn't come on aligned and say, "Look, I take a stance with you. I'm actually going to go against it." Mm, but the projection is one of. I'll highlight this because this was something I thought was a nice spiel. It made me kind of feel like, oof, okay, that felt. And that gave me the chills of seeing this guy as like something a bit of an attitude or like villainous trajectory. Men don't. I think the word was I can't. Top of the head is really hard, but like it's like uh, uh, men who seek power or who want power don't always come into the opportunity of uh, they don't look for their circumstances or their chance comes and they try to take it onwards. Is that the word I was trying to think? Sentence I was trying to describe? It's kind of hard, but where I take the stance is like his attitude was like men don't just wait for the opportunity for power comes. If the opportunity comes in is available to them, most of them will try to seize it. In that matter of regards whether they're successful, it's a different story. But like that felt to me like a great caricature of the human nature when it comes to these kind of like when it comes to this thing that a lot of people are attracted to. And it's fair, right? It's a position of hierarchy system, and the follow up onwards from where Gal Gadot, or she's actually called the nine. She's called the heart. Actually, not heart system. I think she's the nine of hearts. Putting that depiction is kind of funny because we've taken this similar analogy coming from Red Notice, right? She's the bishop. uh, um, I think the undertone of means was overly. emphasized to like say, oh, okay, that's what's driving the story. No, it's all about, honestly, it's all about the kicks and action packs, and that has a good drive for it. And the character is known for being cool. It's like I can't really say otherwise. Was there anything else that the ending line for the Indian girl was pretty funny as well. I thought that was a really comical stereotype, and certain aspects were like comical chimes. It was like, okay, okay. um, Overall, I have to give it a rating, and if I had to compare it to most movies that I feel more driven, where I put my bias in terms of thorough enjoyment, on this one, it's not a bad movie. It's a bit above average, but it's not the best movie that I've consumed. But it was fun, so I'm going to say thank you. um, and well, the title felt not necessarily in place with the storyline. Does that make sense? Like I don't feel Heart of Stone had any way of like reeling people to say this would attract me to watching the implication of where the movie was going to lead in terms of storyline. And what else would I want to say? Uh, uh, I felt certain interactions because there's dialectical implication that comes in between. So putting aside the main heroine, there's a good emphasis also on the double agent. I felt that was the Indian girl in the way that I perspective on her, because she's playing kind of a double agent in a sense. Her her appearance isn't so obvious to me at the start, honestly, but later on, as Parker made his move and everything, and he backstabbed, killing two of her loyal colleagues in her team. Uh, the stance is Parker started. No, they that girl started being more of a prominent threat, which I was paying attention because her Caroline storylines started to drive in terms of like her exchange with the main heroine. But she's more of a supporting character, not necessarily saying she's the front line in comparison to where Parker is projected in the opposite side role, right? And the heart system is something I wish I could have understood, which I was trying to go along the movie to kind of figure out, because it is so elaborate in the sense that they made this a big deal in the movie because they say this is what's the core that's controlling the whole network system. It's a shame they never tried to build up the structure and the layers of that. But I feel like it's within the style probably of where I kind of see the actress normally play in that in the movie consumptions that I normally see her now and then. you know, I don't know all her works honestly. I would be curious to see what kind of other stuff she's done, but it just fits within that nature style. Um, yeah, that was a decent movie. That was all right. I would say in terms of emphasis of stuff that I normally bias a project, uh, the ending scene, the final scene, is where it really hit for me to say, okay, that was kind of cool. Like, okay, that resonated well for my stance of like stance of how I'm seeing this guy as a villain in most other storylines. So like, there's gonna be a point where you gotta feel a bit of threat, they kind of taking control. Does that make sense? Yeah. The dialogue gives them a sense of control and empowerment over the audience in terms of creating some form of like exchange that gives you a bit of pressure or like suggests that this person is a threat, right? That near the end final scene was where that was elaborated more for me, and I can't really comment on ours what other people say. I sorry if this felt a bit unstructured, unhelpful. Uh, I felt I fleshed out the main points of like what was the enjoyment for watching this film, and where I put some structure and I put a few jokes there and there for you guys to like interact and react with me. All right, thank you very much. Uh, that was fun.